So I watched this crazy-ass 2.5-hour video by Square-Eyed Jack ranking the levels from all the Tony Hawk games, and I was struck with an immediate love for the aesthetic of the Game Boy Advance titles, which I'd never actually seen in action before. Magazine screenshots really didn't do this one justice. Continuing on to watch Jack's video reviewing the GBA games, I couldn't shake the feeling that the Game Boy Advance versions, in spite of simplified graphics, somehow felt even more kinetic and even realistic to me than the full 3D console versions. Had the drugs finally made me crazy, or could I somehow justify this opinion to the world? Studying the animation, both versions seem pretty much the same, but the 3D version can't help feeling more stiff by comparison. It's a matter of detail. The 3D version has so much detail that even though it's constantly subtly moving, the limitation of that movement is just as noticeable as the movement itself. However, when you've obscured this character down to just so many on-screen pixels, every subtle movement is extremely noticeable. It almost feels exaggerated, except that because the detail of the image is so low, my focus is drawn to the unique feel of the animation, the constant sense of fluid motion which makes the game look fun as hell to play, even though it's such an obvious downgrade in the breadth of possibilities and in many of the iconic aesthetic aspects of the games. I have to wonder if the GBA version's biggest weakness wasn't trying to copy the aesthetic of the full game so faithfully. Copying the excellent game design is why the GBA versions are playable, but without all the kooky aesthetic flourishes that lift the grounded realism of the main game's core aesthetic into a realm of exaggerated cartooniness, the GBA version looks too basic and plainly realistic, and therefore boring. But what if they'd played more to the technical strengths of the GBA? There are tons of gorgeous looking games on the console which use more simplified character designs that remain readable even at a low level of detail, or through colorful, exciting backgrounds. I don't think this would have gone over as easily with players who were truly looking for a way to keep playing the game that they loved at home while they were on the go, but if the exact same game had been retextured into an original IP with its own aesthetic sense on top of the already excellent animation and core game design, then it might have been a more memorable standalone experience that people felt more of a need to go back to. Instead, the impressive animation of Tony Hawk GBA is trapped inside a game that there's little other reason to remember over the console original. But maybe we can learn something from it. Even if you're working in a lower fidelity medium, there are ways that you can compensate for it which might engross the audience just as much as fidelity would. Obviously, great storytelling, be that through narrative, aesthetic, or kinesthetic design, is the best way, but unique animation is another excellent tool in a visual artist's shed. For the next 10 days, I'm going to be doing RadCon, which is where me and my internet creator friends group up at an Airbnb for 10 days for non-stop video production and live streaming. If you want to keep up with all the crazy stuff going on at RadCon while it's happening, I'll put links in the description to all the stuff that you'll want to look at over not just the oncoming 10 days, but the months across which we'll be producing and releasing all of the content to come out of it. Stay tuned for that and support me on Patreon if you like my videos. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.